Yo guys, I've got a spark which I'm going to use to ignite the fire for a brand new episode of the Skylanders Imaginators Soul Seekers series here on the channel, where we are beginning things off here in the Imaginite Vault, and you can prepare yourselves for a lot of Imaginite chests in this episode, because this is going to be the episode where we grind out what's left of the Imaginite sets, because it turns out for 100% completion of this game you don't need to collect every single piece of gear that you can equip to your Imaginators. Instead, all you need is to acquire every single Imaginite set. Now you'll notice very quickly that I have sped up the gameplay to 5x speed, so that then when we go through Cradle of Creation several dozens of times, it doesn't get too boring and that much of a drag. This is about 5 hours worth of footage condensed into an hour's compilation. I was originally going to have this episode as it was in the Tech Sensei round, where obviously we just had the sped up gameplay footage and music in the background, but watching that video back, it got very boring very quickly, having the same music on loop and nothing else accompanying it besides the sped up gameplay and of course the opening of the Imaginite chest, where here we have lava spikes. Very interesting new piece of gear. That would have no doubt been the gear that they used for the notorious Krakatoa leak a few years back, and then we followed it up with a very boring student head. But say, because nothing but music got not only boring, but also it felt very low effort on my part, I decided instead to post-commentate this entire compilation, where we have now completed a brand new set, the Ape set. So that's, you know, helping us make our way slowly but surely to that 100% game completion. Now, the other original plan for this episode was not only to speed up the footage as we grinded out Imaginite chests, but it was to utilise the arena to grind out Imaginite chests. But it turns out that it's much quicker to do so in the shortest level of the game, Cradle of Creation, where you have guaranteed Imaginite chests at the beginning. Obviously, the Battle Gong has a guaranteed Imaginite chest. There's guaranteed Imaginite chest in that snail challenge that was just completed right now. There's obviously for free from the different trials, and there's also the Imaginite chest that grants you 3 pieces from defeating the Sorcerer Doomlander. So yes, that's pretty much all we need to know for this episode, that I'm post-commentating it, and that the gameplay footage has been sped up to 5x speed as we tackle Cradle of Creation on loop, because it is the quickest way to grind out Imaginite chests in this game, unless of course you dish out money for digital store for Imaginite chests. That's no longer available, but you can get the physical chests from sources such as eBay, so I could have just went online and bought a bunch of those, but I figure let's save the money and instead just grind out Cradle of Creation God knows how many times. Now the unfortunate thing is that this very first Imaginite chest that you get, it's a predetermined common piece of gear. It's going to be a weapon, a basic weapon for any given battle class, so it's designed that way that when you place your Imaginator onto Portal for the first time, it's obviously going to be level 1, so it's not going to be able to acquire, or equip I should say, any gear other than common gear. So that weapon gives you a different alternate choice for your Imaginator, so long as it's of the corresponding class of the gear. I'm pretty sure that if you put an Imaginator on the portal and say you make a ninja character, you get the ninja weapon that you saw before you previously. But there is quite a big gap between that Imaginite chest and the Battle Gong battle chest that comes after it, so that is like our longest chunk of pure gameplay, and given that those seconds are on loop constantly throughout this episode, you can see how it will very quickly become quite boring without my post commentary adding at least a little bit more value to the video. So I'm a lot more proud of this episode now that I'm coming back and post-commentating it, even if it is going to take up 57 minutes of my time, but it's worth every second of it really. And here we go with more Imaginite chests. We did complete another set back there, the Lionheart set I believe it was called, and these spiderweb stars look pretty cool if I do say so myself. This grinding out the Cradle of Creation over and over again wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be, especially since we have Egg Bomber Airstrike here, who's really fun to play as. His combinations just really flow, and it creates such a fast-paced gameplay style. He really is the peak of what the brawling like gameplay style has to offer, because he sort of like utilizes combos to throw his enemies for a loop, and he toys with them. He's toying with them. This Sorcerer Doomlander right now, he's playing about with him. He is having fun, because truly the ball is in Egg Bomber Airstrike's court. So Egg Bomber Airstrike was originally going to be used as the thumbnail for a previous episode, but instead we're using him for the thumbnail of this episode, because we've been grinding out Cradle of Creation with him for 5 hours condensed into a 1 hour compilation, hence the need for the 5x speed moments during the gameplay sections. I'm just going to get that notification off of my laptop as I continue watching the playback live before me, so that then my post commentary is at least, you know, not too delayed. I can talk about the gameplay as it occurs. Now, here we go with yet another piece, and you'll notice very quickly that, as I explained before, this is a common weapon for any given battle class, designed to be the first weapon you can equip to your Imaginator in the game, and that's assuming, of course, that you start with an Imaginator. But why wouldn't you? How cool is it to create your own Skylanders? But the other thing to acknowledge in the first 10 minutes of this video is the fact that the last 6 episodes of this series are going live back to back on a daily basis, and that's to make up for the fact that it has been 4 months since the last Soul Seekers episode, so I think it's about time we got this series well out of the way. Now, that Adventurer sword right there, I like referring to it as Jake's sword, Jake from Adventure Time, because it looks so much like his sword. That was probably where they got the basis from, even if developers weren't to admit it. Let's say these episodes have been coming out back to back, leading to the premiere of the finale, which will be going live tomorrow. That is so long as I get this video exported and uploaded on time, because I am actually recording a post commentary for this on the 26th of April, the exact same day this video is supposed to be going live. So it's most likely going to go live well after 8 o'clock, unlike the previous episodes that have been on the dot 5 o'clock. But so long as we get this out before the finale, I will be quite happy with that. It's Saturday the 26th, which means that in 2 days' time I have my driving test, so that's going to be very exciting, seeing whether or not I pass that. I will let you know in the comment section below as soon as the date has passed if I pass my driving test or not. But that's going to open up a lot more possibilities, especially for the Skylanders vlogging series, because being able to drive, you can get anywhere within Europe, more or less, because I might live in Britain, which is just a tiny little island, but luckily for us we have ferries and services like that. The ferry can get me straight into France, and from there I can go more or less wherever I like, because of all of Europe is landlocked, fortunately. You do have coastal areas, of course, but apart from that, you can just drive through the borders, probably with fees and stuff like that, and you need ID, you know. It's there's going to be security when you move from one country to another, but generally you can drive around the whole of Europe. It's going to be very interesting doing that, though. It's not going to happen until I have a little more experience driving, at least, because obviously there are not only different rules to the road in different countries. In fact, not all countries even drive on the same side of the road. In Britain we drive on the left, in most other countries we drive on the right, which to me just seems bizarre. But then again, I think those other countries think the same thing about Britain, as we drive on the left. But say, there's also mad things like the German interstate, or whatever it's called. That's not the correct term, it's not interstate, because Germany isn't divided into states, unlike the United States of America. That kind of goes without saying. So, whatever it's called, it doesn't really have a speed limit. The slowest people tend to go is 100 miles per hour, which is insane, especially given the motorways in the UK have a speed limit of 70. Now, that doesn't stop people from belting down at 100 miles per hour, which again is also insane, because how are you supposed to react at 100 miles per hour? Like, the stopping distance alone, by the time you've reacted, it's already too late. 70 miles per hour, I think you can just about handle it if you react, like, immediately. And that's why in driving, the best drivers are not the ones who are reactive. They are the ones who have a plan in the back of their head before they advance. They look well down the road, they see potential hazards, they see the road signs, road markings that are literally like directing you as to what it is you need to do. They're informing you on what your plan needs to be moving forward. So the best drivers are ones who don't even need to react, because they've already prepared for the worst case scenario. You know, they are able to stop as the lights suddenly shift to red, because they've noticed, hey, they've been on green for a while, so they're likely gonna change. Oh, Cowboy said that, you know, means that it's a perfect time to move on from talking about driving though. Luckily I need to keep all this stuff in the back of my head when I'm doing my test, because this is how I'll pass. But say there are some bow shoulders right there which look pretty cool. It is nice getting all of this gear. I'm going to be able to customise my Imaginators whichever way I like, which I have very much been looking forward to, because Imaginators, unfortunately, it's very limited what you can do with them until you unlock all of the parts. Oh man, that's just a really lackluster bazooka weapon right now. I am not satisfied with my Care Baymax. You cannot shut down. I just had to make a Big Hero 6 reference. I couldn't help myself, especially since it's 2025, which in the UK is technically the 10-year anniversary of Big Hero 6, because in this country it released in January of 2015, rather than November of 2014 like it did elsewhere. Since Big Hero 6 though, most Disney films now get released in the UK in that November market. The reason for January being a better market in the UK, especially for Disney films, is because January is around for New Year, it's around Christmas, so that's when a lot of kids will be getting those cinema tickets around the holidays, because we don't celebrate Thanksgiving, and in America for Disney animated films, they get released in that window, so that then people go to see them during Thanksgiving Day weekend. Ooh, banana set. That's giving me some ideas for my Life Sentinel, but best not spoil for finale before it's even premiered. We have a rare piece of gear right here for Skipper's hat. It's a shame that's not part of a set, because that is what we are looking to complete. But say we still have a lot of footage to get through. We're only at the 11.5-minute mark. So I suppose the next thing I could talk about is the fact that I'm recording this in my apartment, because I have a lot of errands to run around the town centre, and my apartment is very close to the town centre. So usually whilst I would record these videos instead at my old address, where it's a more ideal filming environment, instead I'm doing this wherever I can, that being the apartment. So one of those errands around town was me getting myself my first tattoo, so I'm going to put that on screen now, at the 12-minute mark that is. I have an Ace of Hearts tattooed on my left hand wrist right there. And why did I get an Ace of Hearts playing card? Well, first of all, the pattern of the heart in the middle is there to make the tattoo look a little bit more sophisticated, but I really like how it turned out. The pattern is rather pretty indeed, and it really helps the tattoo just really stand out. It gives it a lot of flair and personality. Unable to connect to Imaginator servers, never mind, they connected again. It's funny how you can see those servers like dip in and out throughout the entire compilation, and that's just what 5 hours of footage boils down to. But say we got the Ace of Hearts because for my left arm is the arm that I use to donate blood. Ironically, that's the one thing I can't do now for another 6 months, because after you get a tattoo you can't donate blood for at least 6 months, and that's due to just fear of contamination of the needles used. Luckily I used a reputable artist, so I don't need to really worry about that, but it is still obviously for precaution of the rules that the NHS take when taking blood donation from donors, that they haven't had a tattoo in the last 6 months. So yes, well, I can't donate blood, and the tattoo is designed around donating blood. That is just the ironic thing about it. But my apologies about coughing right there. That's what happens when you commentate for 13 minutes straight. Now, there is more meaning to the tattoo than just it being on my donation arm. Obviously, with it being for heart tattoo specifically, blood, is circulated through the body via the heart. Quite possibly the most important organ within your body, but then again, they're all pretty important. Without all of them working in conjunction with one another, then human beings would just cease to function altogether. But yes, the heart and blood are one the same, so blood donation and hearts go hand in hand, hence why I have the Ace of Hearts playing card specifically, and it's an ace because now I can make the pun that I will forever have an ace up my sleeve. I can have my sleeve rolled down, and then whenever anybody asks about it, I can roll the sleeve up and I'll be like, I have an ace up my sleeve, bro. And then I could also use it for cheating and poker, because if I'm dedicated enough to have this Ace of Hearts tattoo on my left wrist right here, you can damn well be sure that it can count towards my hand in the game. So yes, it's primarily there to cheat at poker, no other reason. But all joking aside, I'm really happy about her now. And now that I have this one tattoo, the funniest thing about tattoos is that it turns out your first one is always the hardest because you've got to figure out what it is you want specifically, and that takes a lot of thinking, or as I would like to put it, it takes a lot of overthinking, because boy did I overthink this tattoo for the longest time. 5 years I've been thinking about what to get for my first tattoo, and finally I settled on the Ace of Hearts on my sleeve. For the reasons that I mentioned earlier, for meaning behind it, really. But even then, like, tattoos don't necessarily have to have a meaning behind them. Some people just get tattoos because they're really fucking sick designs, is all. But now that I've had one, I can't wait to get more, because it seems so lonely just for one tattoo on my wrist. So I'm gonna have to give it some company of some sort with other tattoos that I have planned. I have a shortcut tattoo in mind that I think could look really cool if it goes the way that I'm planning in my head, and I'm sure I can get the right artist to do it. So I have a shortcut tattoo in my mind. I want to get the Skylanders runes or the Skylanders elements, maybe a combination of both. I definitely want to get an Igknight tattoo. So imagine that, just having the Skylanders tattoos all over my body. But at the end of the day, this franchise is so important to me. It's shaped a lot of my creative flair, you could say. So why not get that tattooed on my body? Just beware that tattoos are, of course, forever. So whatever you get tattooed on your body, make sure you're not doing something that you're going to regret the next day. And it also turns out, oh, ladybug set, nice. But getting back on topic here with tattoos, I was expecting it to be really painful. People always tend to hype it up, but it turns out it's really not that bad. Like, yes, it is a needle stabbing you thousands upon thousands of times. Like, my tattoo artist even turned around to me and said afterwards, I have officially stabbed you thousands upon thousands of times. Make sure you go through the proper recovery steps. And yes, a tattoo recovery is a nuisance, but it's important to make sure it doesn't get infected, or that you don't, like, damage the integrity of the tattoo. Because the last thing you're going to want is, after having sat through it and sat through that pain, because it's not exactly painless, don't get me wrong. The last thing you want to do after all of that is have to get a cleanup of a tattoo. But to say, it's not as painful as I was expecting. It really isn't that bad. I'm sure most of you watching this could probably handle it. With that being said, don't go into it expecting it to be painless. Like, if you turn around to a tattoo artist and said, this guy on the internet said that tattoos don't hurt at all, that's not at all what I'm saying. It's definitely a pain, but not as painful as I was expecting. But enough of all the disclaimers over here. Also, tattoos, 18 plus. Good reason there. Not only is it the pain involved, but also the fact that, as I mentioned earlier, they are very much permanent, and the last thing you want to do is get a tattoo at the age of 13, and then kids, their interests are always changing, so most likely by the time you're 14 you won't like what you liked when you were 13, let alone when you're 18 you're not going to like what you liked when you were 13, unless you're me, because I've pretty much liked Skylanders since I was 11. And that's mostly because I still have a mental age of 11. At the end of the day, you're talking to a guy who still enjoys his birthday. Most people my age could not give a crap about their birthday. So, that's pretty much what's new with me. I have a driving test coming up, and I have a brand new tattoo, and I have some headshot, quick shot weapons. Very nice. That was quite a mouthful to say, though, and we have a common piece, which luckily for us, that means there's going to be a head for the snowman set. We're not even halfway through the grind as of just yet, though, because we still got well over 40 minutes to go, and already I've run out of stuff to say. I guess it's time for another one of our Igknight yapping sessions, everyone's favourite pastime. But trust me, it was either this or nothing but music in the background of the gameplay, and this is by some miracle better. But this is the penultimate episode of Skylanders Imaginators Soul Seekers, and boy did it take us a while to get here, but you know what, it was one hell of a journey, and I have almost enjoyed every single second of it. I mean, the Rat Kingdom kinda sucked, as did the grinding of the Tech Sensei round, because yes, the Tech Sensei round is quicker to get through than Cradle of Creation. I don't care. It was annoying, doing the same thing over and over again, and the scenery as well. Cradle of Creation at least has more exciting scenery, and Airstrike is a more fun character to utilise in chain reaction, and it has combat, so you're actually doing things, whereas Tech Realm, you're just putting in a new piece every time, go into the Pachinkonator machine, and mash an X, because really there's no more efficient means of which to gather all of the pieces you need to create those toys. So yes, we're creating digital toys in a digital Skylanders world where, you know, in a game where you can take physical toys, put them on a portal and transport them to their respective digital world. I think the physical toy Skylanders are far more exciting than the digital toys you make in the tech ground. It's just not quite got the same feel to it, quite literally too, because the Skylander you can pick up, you can feel them in your hands. How awesome is that? But then again, I don't need to sell you on it. We all know how awesome this franchise is. What's not awesome on the other hand is getting a really boring twist wood club, wasting my time. Frickin' battle gong. There's better be a new chest. It's a new chest. Dragon mail for the dragon armor set. Very interesting looking set that. But next up, what we have is some new ears for Shallow Ears. I feel like that could have been a piece of a set to one of the like marine inspired sets, but the game had other things in mind apparently. So let's see what we have here. Some new headgear, alarm hat. That is very alarming. If anyone, you know, willfully puts that on their Imaginator, then I am sorry to say it, but there is no doubt something wrong with you. That would not look good no matter the design of your Imaginator, is what I'm going as far to say here. It's a good thing it's a rare piece, because the only reason you would have to equip that is if your Imaginator isn't yet at level 6 where it unlocks the ability to obviously equip Ultimate Gear. Otherwise, yeah, Ultimate Gear is really the only gear you need for your Imaginator. Not only does it give you the best stats, but also it just looks the coolest aesthetically, and it's guaranteed that you'll find at least one piece of Ultimate Gear that goes with your Imaginator aesthetically. But it's so annoying that going through this grind, not only are we coming across common pieces that are duplicates of quad cannons, who wants those as a duplicate? Oh, that's what's really so frustrating. Like, we could get pretty much anything, including fire dragon shoulders, which is finally going to complete our dragon armor set. But of all of the things we could possibly get, we waste time getting more duplicates when that time and chest could have been spent getting something actually important towards the run of the level, because we need that 100% completion before we tackle the final Chaos boss fight in the next episode, the finale of the series that will be, where we have triple stars to acquire on Abandoned Amusement Land, the Lair of Chaos, so level preceding the boss fight, and then we will finally defeat Chaos on camera for the first time in this series, because for previous times we've faced him, we've done it all off camera to save his glorious fight for the ending of the show. Boy, one interesting show it has been indeed. Here comes another piece, a common piece. Oh, but thank God these are part of a set instead, so it's not a waste of time, unlike a duplicate piece. Candy Stripe Cannons, very interesting for Mr. Frosty set right now. Some of these sets give you weapons, which obviously can only be acquired to a certain battle class. So if you wanted to recreate that Imaginite like set as your own, then you would have to build an Imaginator utilising that same battle class, which is fine, and that does give me an idea for my own video, which will hopefully be coming out as soon as I can get around to making it. Unfortunately, much time to my own I do not have between work and life getting in the way, especially for social aspects of my life, which really we don't need to get into right now, because those are personal. Personal stuff is personal. Who could see that one coming? Twist of the century right there. In fact, I even say that my cinematic twists put M. Night Shyamalan to shame. He wishes his twists were as good as mine. Bento set, nice. But yes, I do have a video in the works ranking the Imaginite sets. Obviously, we're going to put the Imaginite sets on an Imaginator of the corresponding battle class if the set gives you a weapon for a certain class, like that Mr. Frosty set gave us a quickshot weapon, so we would build Mr. Frosty based on the quickshot class, and then we will pit all of these sets together to see which set just looks the coolest. It would be based purely on aesthetics, more or less, because I can't base it on gameplay, given that every single set would play differently based on the different battle classes. So in that case, I'm rating what I think of each of the different battle classes, not on what I'm rating of the set in and of itself. And then it's not only going to be how cool the set looks, but also how uniform it looks. Like, do the pieces mesh well together? Because it's not really going to be much of a theme set if the pieces don't look good together, if it looks like it's just been lazily slopped together, a bit like this video looked originally when it was music only. But for Tech Sensei Realm is one thing, playing Battlefield on loop over and over again. Luckily for us, Battlefield is a good song, so it fit for Tech Sensei Realm quite well. But here, the music would largely be Perilous Pastures and Lava Lakes Railway for the Mine, so having that on loop, whilst, again, those are great tracks, in fact, I would even argue that they're better tracks than Battlefield. Do we really need an hour of that on loop with 5 times gameplay footage? But it certainly is fast paced with the gameplay being sped up to 5x its original speed. That was the only way I could keep this video under an hour, hilariously enough. But definitely, I myself am enjoying post-commentating this a lot more than having nothing other than the music in the background. And to speak to something else that's happening soon, me and Luke are going on holiday to Crete. That's going to be a Skylanders vlogging episode in and of itself. So that's very exciting. We have trips planned and all sorts, so we can tour like the palaces there, learn a bunch of history, and by learn I mean Luke can pay attention and I'll have him summarise it for the video afterwards, whilst I just distract myself with stuff that isn't boring. No, I'm joking. Greek mythology and stuff is quite possibly some of the most interesting pieces of history to me. Like Greece, just in general, has a lot more intrigue to it than anything else. So even stuff I would find boring in Greece is just that much more exciting to me. Athens is the birthplace of the Olympics, for Pete's sake. You cannot tell me that Greece is not an interesting place. Well, you can. You'd just be wrong, because that's how opinions work. I am right, you are wrong, end of story. We got part of the fireman set right there, so that's a good start. Getting more pieces for more sets, more the merrier. It's the old lie, less is more, at least in this case, because in this case, no, less is not more is more. Emphasis on that. Here we go with another Imaginate chest. Only half an hour to go in this grind, so at least we're getting there. But yes, there's Crete coming up. I'm likely going to be going away with family again in October, so that's going to be several holidays in 1 year, and that's mainly because I can afford it now with the job that I have. Stuff that I was unable to do before, and I have the opportunity to do so because of my job. So at the end of the day, my job might be boring, and the 12 hours can be a slog at times, because yes, I work 12-hour shifts, which the benefit of that means that I'm not working every single weekday, every single week, because 8 hours a day, Monday to Friday, is so much worse than 12 hours where we'll work 60 hours one week, but then the next week we'll only have 20 hours to worry about. So we'll go from doing 5 shifts in a row to only 2 shifts in a row, and that gives me longer weekends, nicer breaks, and then some weeks go by really, really quick because I'll just do the 2-day shifts and be done with it, and I've not got to worry about it again. And this is one of those instances where I've done my 2-day shifts, and now I'm on Saturday, and I still have another 2 days off before I do my next shift again, because of how my shift schedule has fallen. So we still do the average 40-hour weeks like you would a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, but instead it's broken up via a different schedule in 12-hour chunks. So yes, for the job, would I rather be doing literally anything else? Absolutely, but it grants me opportunities such as going on holiday multiple times a year. We did Paris in February. In April I went to Great Yarmouth. And then in May, in a few days' time, based on the date I'm recording this video, which again, I'm recording this on the 26th of April, at least the post-commentary I am. The original gameplay footage was recorded all the way back in January. In fact, one of the previous episodes, I was talking about utilising Egg Bomber Airstrike in January, when the episode itself came out around the Easter window. So what I was saying became dated very, very quickly, hence the name of the episode becoming Dated Commentary. But yes, then we might also be going away in October as well for my 4th holiday of the year, and I'll probably even do like small breaks in between because I have long weekends, so that will grant me the opportunities to just go to different places in the UK, like I did with Great Yarmouth. That's within the UK, it's a coastal town, so I can check out other places. I would love to go back up Cornwall again because I haven't been there for years. Maybe go Blackpool again, because we used to make an annual tradition out of that, but we stopped going to Blackpool when the family ran hotel that we used to go to every year, they sold it. But say we used to have family members that owned a hotel down in Blackpool, so that gave us a reason to go there every year. But when they sold it, we decided that Blackpool was no longer going to be an annual tradition, and because of that, I haven't been to Blackpool for over 10 years, but I love the Pleasure Beach down there. The roller coaster is one of the biggest in the entirety of Europe, let alone the biggest in the UK. Plus, Blackpool has an amazing, like, water arena type area. I won't really call it an arena, it's just a big building with several like swimming pools. It has a lazy river, it has one of those wavy pools where they throw the large waves at you, and then they have a plethora of slides. So you have one that literally shoots you straight down. It's a 90-degree angle. It is a thrill. I love that water park. I think is more appropriate term for it because it has such amazing water slides. So between that and Pleasure Beach Blackpool, it is an incredible weekend that I definitely want to go back and experience once more. Plus, it'll be very nostalgic for me, given that, like I say, we used to go there annually. I even have Skylanders that I acquired in Blackpool. I acquired REBOOTED when there was obviously a... Was it a Toys R Us in Blackpool? It might have been a Jeff's Toys, actually. But Toys R Us isn't around in the UK anymore, at least not outside of, like... WH Smith's. Like, sometimes you'll have a smaller Toys R Us inside that shop, much like how now all of the games across the UK, or at least most of them, they're now found inside either a Sports Direct or a House of Fraser, because they fall under that Fraser group of shops. So since that's the parent company, they made the decision to put game inside of those shops. Some of them are still independent games. I know Lincoln has an independent game, so does Nottingham, but for the most part, say you find them inside a Sports Direct, which is the case for Loughborough, it's the case for Great Yarmouth, and it's such a shame because they're really like small sections. They don't take in trade-ins anymore, you can't get pre-orders from there anymore. It's not really a game shop, it's still a Sports Direct that sell merchandise that used to be associated to game, and even then, like, video games isn't their primary focus. They mostly sell toys and puzzles and board games, stuff like that, which technically you can still call it games because you make games out of toys, and board games has the word games in the name of it. So yes, it's a shame that game is just a shell of its former glory. It no longer even has a rewards program, and it did that so that now you can go to the front desks and use regular tills that are found in House of Fraser and Sports Direct to buy your merchandise from the game shops that are found within them. But Toys R Us has followed suit. Now Toys R Us can be found in certain WH Smiths around the country, so it's nice that Toys R Us have made somewhat of a comeback. But I do believe it was either a Toys R Us or Jeff's Toys. Again, I couldn't even tell you if Jeff's Toys is still in business or not. I know that the Jeff's Toys that used to be in Loughborough is no longer around because that went out of business years ago. But that's where I got a REBOOTED in Blackpool from a toy shop, we'll just say for the moment being. And then I also got a Slobbertooth from the HMV of Blackpool. Again, no idea if that's still around there. HMV is still a national brand though. You can find HMVs all over the country. So if it's still there in Blackpool, it's still there in Blackpool. Simple as. And that's some of my most fondest memories of Blackpool, getting those Skylanders. In fact, there was even a flea market where I got for £3 a brand new, unopened Scorpion Striker Battle Pack. So that came with Hot Dog and the Series 2 Zap. Series 2 Zap being one of my favourites from Skylanders Giants. I think his Repos is particularly cool, but I love his Wow Power specifically, that it's named after that poor Kid Rider who unfortunately passed away, but he was a Skylanders mega fan. His favourite Skylander was Zap, so it was so sweet of the developers to give him that dedication within Giants. At least it somewhat preserves his life, and that's magic to me. It's not like Disney who would turn around and say, oh, I want to put this character on my child's gravestone, and they refuse. That this was a big news story at the time several years ago where a kid passed away and his favourite character was Spider-Man. That's what helped him and his family get through tough times, that character. And so the dad emailed Disney and asked to put Spider-Man as an engraving on the child's grave, and they turned around and was like, nope, and their reasoning being that if they gave it to him, then all of a sudden every parent on the planet is going to be asking for the characters to be put on the graves, and really they don't want their characters to be associated with death, even though their characters die in the movies. So, granted, not Spider-Man. Not yet, anyway. Are they going to kill off Tom Holland and Spider-Man in the next Avengers movie? That would be a very brave choice. It's not going to happen. I would stake my entire bank account on that. I can't wait to now have to give up my entire bank account for being horribly wrong. This is probably going to be dated in some time if they do dare to kill off Tom Holland and Spider-Man. But say, that's just ridiculous. I think the father should have just done it anyway. Like, it's just courtesy to email Disney and ask for permission. That's what I would do. I would turn around and say, nope, I'm doing it anyway. I don't care. You can slap me with a lawsuit. This is my son's grave I'm talking about here. So, yeah, Disney gotten a lot of bad reputation for that. But Disney as a company, they definitely have their ups and downs to it, but what huge public company like that doesn't have a good side and a bad side, each, you know, rather extreme? It's like a roller coaster, which you find in Disney World. But why would I go to Disney World when I have a roller coaster in the UK that's probably going to be better than anything Disney have to offer? Because as I was alluding to earlier with the Pleasure Beach Blackpool, their roller coaster named the Big One, it gets its name for a reason, or it has its name for a reason, because it is a big one, and boy is it a good roller coaster. You go really high, so the view's magnificent, and you go really fast. What else is there to want from a roller coaster? Meanwhile, the Pleasure Beach that I went to in Great Yarmouth, it was decent, I will give it that. It's roller coaster, it's wooden one. It is a thrill. I must have gone on it about a dozen times, and it is quick. It's 45 miles per hour, so it's not as fast as modern coasters, but at the end of the day, it has a lot of history behind it because it's a wooden coaster that's well over 100 years old. And that alone is fascinating to me. But the park had plenty of other rides, some of which were quite modern. They had a pendulum that literally went all the way over the top, and because of the height it went up to, again, you had magnificent views from the top. But mainly it was most impressive when you were all the way at the top. You had gravity obviously pulling you down, but you remained restrained within your harness. It was quick. And say you could look down below you, and it was a thrill. Not for faint of heart, though, mind you. Oh, some question Lego, I don't mind if we do. Now, this really is a testament to the randomness of acquiring pieces in Imaginators, because that equestrian set, when I first played the game, was one of the first sets I completed. But here I am on this specific, like, unique playthrough of the game, and now the equestrian set this time around is one of the last sets we are unlocking. What a shame that is a duplicate piece, because we could have got a new piece, and then that would mean having to play this level one fewer times. But unfortunately the game doesn't care about what I want, which is to get through this as efficiently as possible. But that's all that and kind of everything that I wanted to say on that front. It's just really sweet when there's like dedications to people who've passed away. You get it on TV shows as well, like when an actor, for instance, passes away, they get dedication at the end of the episode. That happened a lot in Modern Family, I find. You know, at the end of the episode, they dedicate it to the memory of someone who worked on the show. And then whenever I see it, I always love looking up the person to just know and celebrate for life. And those are just so sweet to me, and Skylanders doing it as well. It just shows the developers really cared. In fact, they even did it in Deadpool, where Ryan Reynolds, when he's going through baby names in Deadpool 2, one of the names he suggests is the name of a kid that he met in a cancer hospital. And so, obviously, he put that in, And the director of producers had no other say in it because Ryan Reynolds was not going to complete the project with them without obviously that being added to the script. So that was through the choice of Ryan Reynolds, showing that the man really does have a heart of gold. A lot of celebrities do. You see that with Keanu Reeves. He's notorious for it. In fact, he got in trouble on the set of John Wick 4, helping like all the sound guys move their equipment up the big stairs during because they had to shoot like that massive stairway sequence in John Wick 4, which is an amazing set piece, by the way. I really enjoyed the action in that movie. In fact, all 4 movies have incredible action. They are notorious for it. John Wick kills a guy with a pencil, for Pete's sake. What is not bodacious about that? I even brought out the word bodacious. That's just how awesome it is. Bodacious really sums it up. It's one hell of a word. It's a bodacious word, dare I even say. The word bodacious is in fact bodacious. But enough of the bodacious-ception, which is comedy gold. Because remember back in 2014 when you could add the word "ception" to the end of anything and it was instant comedy gold? I want to time travel back to that era where that comedy just worked for some reason. Yeah, like I say, he got in trouble for it because what if he got injured in the process and then they had to delay filming, which would have cost the producers a lot of money. People would have lost out on jobs because of it. Freelancers wouldn't have been paid for that time off. So yes, there is definitely 2 sides to the argument because of course Keanu Reeves has been very kind and generous helping the sound crew carry their gear, but at the same time he's the star of a movie. He needs to put his health above all else. Because how pissed off are they going to be if he injures himself and they have to put off filming whilst he needs to recover, and they lose all that money because they aren't being, they're only being paid for the hours that they work and they aren't working whilst Keanu Reeves is recovering. So yes, 2 sides to every story, but it is a testament to his generosity, I suppose. Keanu Reeves is a nice man, and Pedro Pascal is also notorious for it. Apparently people who run into Pedro Pascal say he's quite the legend, and yes, by that I do mean legend, but I think it's more funny to pronounce it legend because it just sounds rather bizarre pronouncing it that way. A bit like how you can mispronounce, or botch the pronunciation I should say, of Persephone's name. We all know it's Persephone, but I prefer calling her Persephone just to piss people off because during Spice Adventure, even though they say the name of the fairy, people still, when they was going through the original playthroughs of the game, still called her Persephone, which is hilarious to me, so I keep that tradition alive, I guess. And here we go, another Imaginator piece. This is going to be a good one. We have a new head unlock, big question head, so to answer my own question, yes. Yes it is. That is what we like to see, my friends. That is what we like to see. What? So, here we go, continuing on, completing the snail challenge for the umpteenth millionth time. Which again, umpteenth really puts emphasis on just how many times I was forced to go through this level. A lot of times. It's like the word bodacious. The word itself can describe the word. And it's clever that way, but it just really puts emphasis on the point you're making by using vocabulary such as that. You're taking that one step further, basically, to emphasize the point you're trying to put across. So we have more for the set, we have more duplicates as well, because, you know, it wouldn't be another grind through of a level without duplicates. But hey, that submarine gun was pretty cool, and more importantly, not a freaking duplicate. So here we go, we have about 15 minutes left of the compilation here, and I have just been rambling for the last 20 minutes straight, but I hope you guys have been enjoying this. It was nice going through the gameplay, just playing casually, not having to worry about commentating over the top of it, because I knew it was going to speed up the gameplay footage anyway, so commentating over the top of it would mean that that commentary would be sped up. And this is why I've also muted the gameplay, because when you have the gameplay audio playing at 5x speed, it sounds like crap, much like how my commentary would sound like crap if I sped it up to 5x speed. Bazooka weapon! It's a commando cannon, which is one that we don't have yet, so that's great. At least we're not wasting time by going through and getting more duplicate pieces that we We already acquired it, so we don't need it a second time, but here we go with another set having been completed with the questioning set, so we earned some shoulder guards for it. Do not mind if we do, my friends, we do not mind if we do. Oh, an ultimate gear, that's very promising for heavy duty pauldrons, which is not a duplicate, but it's also not a piece of a set, and what's more important than getting new original pieces all together is the set pieces. But you know what? I'll take literally anything over a duplicate, anything. Including that ninja weapon, which isn't part of a set, but hey, at least it's something new that we haven't acquired before. Let's be building bridges. Yes, we want to build bridges, not tear them down. Make love, not war, dude. To quote the hippies, because that is hilarious. I hear you not laughing at my joke. Laugh at it already. Laugh. Like I just did. Laugh. Well, maybe not with an evil tint added on there. Let's take down the Sorcerer Doomlander. Slowly. Very slowly. And that's even with the Kidblade being sped up, it still feels slow. Oh boy. Somehow grinding this out over and over again was still better than what I had to do for tech sensing round. But luckily for us, we have not many playthroughs of Cradle of Creation left. We have a handful at most. Here comes a ninja weapon, the Donuts of Doom. Would not want to be on the receiving end of them. Maybe eating them for sure, but being attacked by them, not so much. It really does prove that anything can be turned into a weapon. John Wick used a pencil, but in Skylanders Imaginators, literally anything is weapon. And I don't say that lightly. We have donuts as weapons. In fact, there's even a bazooka weapon, the Donut Bazooka as we like to call it. In fact, I think that's what the game calls it. But it's a very cool weapon. And that's not even a pun too, because it's not an ice themed weapon, it's a food themed weapon. So I suppose my pun kind of sucks. Bit like Jetpack. Jetpack only has one fan, and his fan is better than he is, because his fan is a Smasher Imaginator, and all of the Imaginators in this game are more or less better than anything else in this game. They are so busted, especially when they're maxed out on their level cap, because you have a lot of senseis. For me, I can raise my Imaginators all the way up to level 62. Unfortunately, I can't surpass that because I don't possess Birthday Ben Starcast, or the Barbella or Pinata Chase variants that would bring it up to 65, and then 66 would be ushered in by Heartbreaker Buckshot. But like the entirety of the planet, I do not own an official Heartbreaker Buckshot, because the variant, unfortunately, was never released, even though it looks really dope. But you know what? The lack of pupils in the eyes did give it a rather devilish look. For me, I would prefer the term to say that Heartbreaker Buckshot is devilishly handsome, but the developers took it more as devilishly devilish, so they canned the variant altogether. Which, yes, you really don't want any sort of controversy on your hand, especially not for a children's video game. I think Nintendo do enough of that already. Mario Kart is $80, what an outrage! Even though that is the cost of pretty much all games these days, you can't expect Nintendo to not up the cost of their games, especially when games are really expensive to make. And inflation as a whole has caused other products to inflate in price, so games necessarily should follow suit. And if we actually looked in terms of inflation, then games have been $50 in America for so long. Like, even when they first were brought out, they were $50, and then they maintained that price tag. So if you look at $50 in today's money, it would be well over $200. So technically, games have gotten cheaper, because games back on the NES would have been $200 based on the price of inflation. How absurd is that? People are just complaining for the sake of complaining. If you can't afford to go out and buy every game, then simply just don't play every game and pick and choose your battles, because I'm sure whatever games you pick will be satisfied. You will be satisfied by. If it comes down to reviews, then sure. If it comes down to watching gameplay, then sure. Just don't get games on launch. Stop pre-ordering games. It's not like in the UK we have the opportunity to pre-order games anymore, because Game don't do that sort of thing. We can pre-order from sites like Curry and Amazon, but that's much I do not do. It's a shame we can't pre-order from Game anymore, even though its whole thing used to be that it was about video games. But we've already talk about that. Let's let that ship sail from home being. I'm personally not too frustrated about price increases, because I was expecting a price increase. It comes with the more powerful hardware, for games are more expensive to make. Why wouldn't Nintendo up the price of their games? I don't think it's that absurd. They're just following suit what PlayStation and Microsoft have already done, because at the end of the day, those games were increased in price. So it doesn't come as a surprise to me. I'm over it. I will pick and choose my battles for which games I will and will not get. And the games I will get, hopefully with a wise choice, will be the ones that will keep me invested. Because at the end of the day, I don't buy every game. I don't have the time to play every game. If I did, like, what's the point of me going out buying every single game when I have a full-time job that allows me the opportunity to afford to buy those games in the first place? But because I'm spending a majority of my time in my full-time job, it means I can't play all of the games I pay for. Luckily, I've learnt from that lesson, and I no longer buy every game. I only buy the games I know I'm going to play. And a lot of the time, I know I'm not going to play them around the launch window, unless it's a game I'm very eagerly anticipating, so I just wait for a sale. Nintendo games don't really go on sale, and when they do, it's for a very short window, unfortunately, so Nintendo is for one exception of that. But you know what? They have the only console of which to play them on, so they control the entire market when it comes to their exclusives. It's a shame that Sony and Microsoft don't have like first-party developers that and the resources that Nintendo do, but that's like the difference, especially between the divide of Eastern and Western game development. In other words, the Eastern side of things is far superior in every conceivable way. Anyone would think I'm a massive Nintendo buff. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents on that. Obviously, it's just an opinion. You don't have to agree with it. I am just like throwing thoughts out there. It's like just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. And I do that with opinions a lot. Not all of my opinions are popular ones. Frankly, I couldn't give a fuck if you agreed with me or not. You could be outraged by Nintendo increasing the prices of games. How dare they force you to spend more money in their games? Just don't buy their games then. As simple as that, really. Don't complain about it. Or do. You know, at the end of the day, freedom of speech and all that. And that's the main downside to the internet. Now, literally anyone can have a voice. That is both a good and a bad thing, and that once again is trickling down to perception, much like the entire topic I'm talking about in the first place. In fact, pretty much everything in this video can be taken, anything and everything that is, can be taken as opinion. Nothing in this episode has been stated as fact. I will not dare delude myself and claim it as anything other than my opinion, and everyone is entitled to their opinion, each to their own, as the famous saying goes. Okay, so I believe we now, after this run of level, are moving on to the final run of level, because we only have 5 minutes of a compilation left. Boy, was it a grind, but we got here in the end, and that's what matters. For Totem Bazooka, a very interesting looking weapon there. But if you actually paid attention to the like objective stats for the few seconds they were on the screen each time, you'll notice that I did get quicker and quicker every single time I went through the level. That was just me getting accustomed to the layout and optimizing my route. I do believe the Skylander dude even made a video about speedrunning, and speedrunners, it's all about having the motivation and the dedication, really, to do the same thing over and over again to save literal frames through your efficiency, because you have to be, especially if you're going for popular speedrunning categories, you have to be frame perfect on certain things to stand a chance at any of the leaderboards. It's why Mario games in particular, with their like frame perfect techniques, create for exciting speedruns, because you've got to go through a 16-minute run and do everything frame perfect, and if you do, you might shave off a couple of microseconds in order to garner a brand new world record. That is excitement incarnate. Sparkly head. Ooh. Very, very sparkly indeed, but I believe that might just be our last set. Hopefully we won't have another run through of a level after this. We might. I might be horribly calculating things, because my sense of time isn't always the strongest. But here we go, building another bridge. As I said earlier, let's not go burning our bridges. Let's make love, not war. So we have new shoulder pads for seashell shoulders. Trying to say that 5 times faster, but unfortunately those were a piece that we had unlocked already. I believe we're missing the sparkly set and the chompy set. Maybe we'll get both of them from this final source for Doomlander. We're about to find out. Let's continue skipping over all that unnecessary deep stew right now, because Airstrike has taken him down, and we've got an Imaginate chest, but I don't think it is the last one of the episode actually, because we still have another 2 minutes left from the compilation, which I believe is enough time to get through the level for one last playthrough. A new swashbuckler weapon for Barracudas, which is a duplicate, but you know what, they would look really awesome on a water swashbuckler. It's just a shame that a water swashbuckler is not part of our unique cast. So let's just continue murdering everything. Garner some more unnecessary common weapons that we have already. Those old guns, who would dare in their right mind equip those unless your Imaginator is only at level 1, because they look terrible. In fact, they look ugly. So I'll go one step further than terrible. Man, I feel sorry for those guns right now, me calling them ugly like that. Guns have feelings too, even though they're inanimate, so by definition they can't have feelings. But what I say goes, end of story. Much like in my opinions, what I say is correct. If you disagree with me, you're wrong. That's just how these things work. I don't make up rules, I just reinforce them. So for Chompy Head, that has no eyeballs! What a strange little thing, but what's important is that we have completed the set, and now we have a Chompy staff, much like Chompy Mage's staff from the first few games. You can at least equip it to an Imaginator, even though Chompy Mage himself doesn't even utilize the staff, because he swaps out immediately for a bazooka, which isn't even on his figurine. But I think that's what's so interesting about bringing Chompy Mage. I know it's a controversial take, like a lot of these takes have been in this episode, no doubt, but what's happened here is that you have a really cool Chompy Mage figurine. He has a staff, you put it on the game, and in his opening animation he has a staff at first, but he tosses it aside for his bazooka instead. It's literally the figurine transitioning into what he becomes in the game. It's actually a really cool concept that I quite enjoy. But then again, you can't go wrong with Chompy Mage in general, because the character is really fucking busted. He is so powerful. Enemies do not stand a chance against him. It is absurd how good he is. He does not need to be that good. Like, someone hurt the developers, and that's how they justified making him that way. I have to ask the question, who hurt them, okay, to make him that much more powerful compared to the puny enemies? I feel sorry for the enemies when they play Chompy Mage, knowing that they're going through absolute obliteration. But finally, the final set has been complete. We have the Precious Gem set, which has granted us 100% completion, and our Imaginite set. We even got the Steampunk hat, which we haven't yet got, and the high-tech protection, which we haven't yet got. Those are fantastic rewards for the ordeal I just went through. Man, am I glad this episode's finally coming to an end. Let's roll the outro without further ado. Thank you so much for watching through to the end of this video. I deeply appreciate every last one of you, since it's viewers such as yourself which make these videos possible, and I couldn't do it without all of your unwavering support. If you enjoyed what you just saw, you can click on screen now to watch either my most recent video or a video picked out specifically just for you. You can also access the entire playlist for the video you just watched. I'll be seeing you in the next video, but until that moment arises, peace!